everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Intermission podcast, the show where two film students discuss classic, iconic, and obscure films from times gone by. We're your hosts, Oscar to be Fitchett.
Robbie Tweedale.
Oh, I caught him just down in his...
Caught it. I got
Coffee?
it. It's a coffee. I'm staying awake, bro. I'm staying awake.
I started having a coffee, but it tasted really rank. I don't know what was up with it. So I just I'm not caffeinated at all today.
I think that's the telltale sign of someone drinking too much coffee. That's when coffee starts to taste terrible.
It tasted really watery, and I didn't know what was up with it. So either way, this is the first podcast episode of the year.
Yes.
Well, of 2021. Breaking the illusion completely right now. This is currently the 20th of December, so I'm
wearing a Christmas jumper, which
yeah.
is helping no one. There it is. Class.
Excellent. And also, that's also another thing. We're giving this a go. We're giving some video a go.
Yes.
We tried it with the It's a Wonderful Life. We're not in the same place this time around. As
Sadly
you can tell,
enough.
it's currently the Christmas holiday period.
Yeah.
So we're trying it through Skype and this type of recording. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But we're giving things a go. So yeah, Robbie, it feels like it's been forever. How have you been?
Coming to you live from the Battle of Geonosis.
Yeah,
I'm good. Jedi's all about. They're loving it.
This is going to be so confusing to any Spotify listeners.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry for anyone listening on Spotify. I've put, you can put a background on Skype, and I've just got the Battle of Geonosis going on.
Part of me is so tempted to not, just in future just never explain over Skype of what we're gonna do. I want it to be, I'm gonna keep up with the theme of having a background related to the film we're discussing, and you're going to just do a random fucking thing every time.
That works for me.
So that'll encourage people to actually go to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. Watch us on YouTube. I've been doing all right. I mean, been getting stuff done, doing some videos, doing some editing, doing whatever. It was my 1 year anniversary yesterday with my girlfriend. Thank you everyone. Why
you made it a year. You made.
I have no idea how that's happened.
I think I have a theory, Robbie.
Go on.
You don't see each other every day.
If we saw each other every day, she'd be sick of me by now.
You would have ran out. You would have had your time by then.
I'd have completely ruined it by now if we saw each other every day.
You have an expiry, and it would the amount of hours you spend in person, and you've extended it through a year. So that's.
She only hears a shit joke every 3 months. So if it was every day, she'd be gone. So that was a good day. We had a good time. I've been busy making her anniversary present. I made her a little video.
Yeah.
And that's all I've been doing my time. I've got my nephew here at the minute. He's loving it, crawling about and that. So yeah, how have you been? Good stuff.
I've been fine. Fine. I mean, to briefly explain to you, was going to try to do uni work this week, first week I'm off, and I've just been completely burnt out. Thanks, digital production. And then just completely burnt out. So I was like, you know what? Before I start delving into a 3,000-word essay on existentialism in film related to French New Wave and the Before trilogy, I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to sit. I'm just going to watch a shitload of films. And that's what I've been doing. I've been catching up on 2020 films for when it does come to our best of 2020 list. Because God knows I didn't do much 2020 film watching in 2020. No. Cheers, COVID, for that. But yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing, and more will be discussed about that in future weeks and
Good
such
stuff.
and such. I was going to say something. I literally was going to say something regarding in relation to something, but I'm not going to create any dead air. If I remember it, I'm just going to say it off the bat.
Good stuff.
But Robbie, we're going to just get right into this episode 12 of the Intermission podcast. We're talking about the 1941 character drama Citizen Kane.
We are indeed.
The film is directed by Orson Welles and is written by Orson Welles and Herman J. Mankiewicz. The film stars Orson Welles as Charles Foster Kane, as well as starring Joseph Cotton, Dorothy Comingore, Everett Sloane, Ray Collins, George Culleries, Agnes Moorehead, Paul Stewart, Ruth Warwick, Erskine Sanford, and William Alland. I'm probably butchered so many of those names.
That's
Probably
all
done
right.
so, it's fine. The plot synopsis of Citizen Kane, according to IMDb, is: following the death of publishing tycoon Charles Foster Kane, reporters scramble to uncover the meaning of his final utterance, Rosebud. That's a perfect plot synopsis there.
Yeah.
Says it perfectly there. I don't know why it was so difficult for It's a Wonderful Life to do the same. But who knows? Accolades that the film holds is that it has a 100% on the tomato meter and an audience score of 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb, placing it at number 96 on their top 250. The film also scores a 4.2 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd, placing it at number 127 on their top 250. The American Film Institute placed it at number 1 in their top 100 greatest films of all time, and it placed at number 2 on the British Film Institute Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time, and it was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Music for Bernard Herrmann, Best Film Editing for Robert Wise, Best Sound Recording, Best Black and White Art Direction, Best Black and White Cinematography for Greg Toland, Best Lead Actor for Orson Welles, Best Director for Orson Welles, Best Picture, and it won 1 Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for Orson Welles and Herman J. Mankiewicz. So, with Citizen Kane, it is it's almost become a not a joke. The name itself has become more well known than the actual film itself. I think
Yeah.
the legacy that the film holds of being Citizen Kane is a lot more well known than what Citizen Kane is actually about. And I think for example, if I were to say the Intermission podcast is the Citizen Kane of podcasts, first of all, I would be telling a complete lie. Second of all,
be right.
what that would mean, I would be saying the Intermission podcast is the best podcast. So for the longest time, Citizen Kane has kind of been associated with being the best of the best for film-wise. I think that's more traditionally known than actually what I've known it to be, because my relation to Citizen Kane is I remember just getting into film and just hear. Do you want to know the very first time I heard the name Citizen Kane, Robbie?
Go on.
I remember the Hangover Part 2 teaser trailer, and they did quotes from the first Hangover film. Not quotes from it, review quotes of the first Hangover film. And there was one quote that said the sequel or like the first film was the Citizen Kane of, I forgot the exact terminology it used, the Citizen Kane of Hangout film or something like that, like some sort of like some sort of specific sub genre of comedy. It said the Hangover was the Citizen Kane of that. And I'm being confused, me like, what does that mean? And then getting more into
what
film
an obscure reference.
Yeah, and then getting more into film around that time period, I was like, oh, Citizen Kane is apparently the be-all, end-all of best film. However, that didn't register to me because it wasn't number 1 on the IMDb top 250, which is what I looked at a lot. But it was more or Empire. I don't think Empire magazine even put it at number 1. No, to me, that was more The Godfather that I kept seeing at those high spots. And Citizen Kane was more so number 1 in the American Film Institute lists, in the BFI lists. So I kind of associate Citizen Kane more as like the best film ever for older critics. That is how I always associate. Like, I think Roger Ebert once, I think he had it as his favorite film ever. I think. I'm not sure. But I know Ebert had it very highly. But my relationship with Citizen Kane, Robbie, before I ask you your thing, I remember watching it for the first time when I was 17 years old. No, that's incorrect. About 18, 19 years old. And I remember, and it was one of those things. I was like, all right, then, come on, let's see what you got then, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and I remember just really liking it the first time I watched it. Like, I was really into it. I was like, okay, I get it. I can get that. It's really fucking good. And I just never watched it again. and it never really stuck in my head. But I remember thinking to myself, God, that was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the second time I watched the film was this year in anticipation for Mank. And then I watched it for Mank, and I watched it then. I thought, you know what? I still really like it. Now I know more about the film. And again, I've watched it for a third time this morning in preparation for this podcast, just to get freshened up on it. My quick thing with it is I just think I do love it. I think it's excellent. I do think it's an excellent film. And I'll read actually the review that I did on Letterboxd just to sum up my brief thoughts for now, and then we can go in to explain it. I first started my review with the quote, "I can remember everything. That's my curse, young man. It's the greatest curse that's ever been inflicted on the human race. Memory. How can such an incredibly beautiful, poignant quote be such a casual line in any film? One of the many reasons why I think Orson Welles' feature film debut is a timeless masterpiece. Sometimes you need a film to remind you why you love the craft of filmmaking so much. Citizen Kane was that for me at this current time. On a side note, Wells was the same age as me when he made Citizen Kane. That is one way to feel like the biggest underachiever." So that's my basic thoughts on Citizen Kane and my relationship with Citizen Kane. Robbie, what are your relationship and thoughts on Citizen Kane?
Okay, so I had never seen Citizen Kane up to this point. I knew of it, obviously, as a person that's massively into film. You just know it because you know the phrase, it's the Citizen Kane of whatever. Empire is the Citizen Kane of Star Wars films. You know, like you just know the phrase. But I knew about Rosebud. I knew what the big reveal was at the end. I referenced it in my first short film that I ever made, having never seen the film, because I knew of the quote unquote plot hole, with it where it's like, well, who heard him say Rosebud when he died?
Yeah.
No one else was in the room. And I went, well, and in my short film, when this guy's going to different dimensions of films and things, I'm gonna make him fix the plot hole. Turns out I'd never seen the film, and if I had seen the film, then I'd known that there isn't a plot hole; it doesn't exist. So I don't know. So I knew of it very well. I just never watched it. I watched it last night. I started watching it last night. I had to. I gave up halfway through. Well, not gave up. I got an hour in, paused it, and said I'm coming back to this tomorrow because I've started it far too late. So I then woke up this morning and thought, I'm not going to start it from halfway through. I'm going to watch it all in one sitting. So I went back to the beginning and watched the whole thing. It was the first time, for that time watching the first half of it last night, it was the first time that I've watched one of the films for this podcast with my family, which was a different experience because whilst you're watching it, you kind of, my family don't show up. They're always saying stupid comments about things. But it was interesting to see their takes on this film that has been heralded as the greatest film of all time on so many different occasions to me. Am I giving my thoughts on it now? Just like basic thoughts? Or just...
Yeah, I'll before we get into it, once again, just remind everyone, we're talking spoilers about Citizen Kane. So if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, go away, come back and watch it. As of now, it's on BBC iPlayer for free.
Yeah, literally, that's where I got it. Yeah.
You don't need a subscription for that. Surprising enough, there's a load of fucking films on iPlayer that I'm like, how did I know about this?
Classic ones, like massively. There's loads.
Yeah. So I don't know if it'll still be on by the time
it was on this
podcast
morning.
is on. Yeah, I think it will still be on. So if you're in the UK and you want to see Citizen Kane, watch it on iPlayer. Go for that. So yeah, and also I want to have more of a free. I have notes, but I kind of want to do what we did with the Deer Hunter.
Yeah, just a free flowing sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So go on then, Rob B.
Are you ready for me to lose all credibility as a filmmaker within one swift sentence?
Let me guess. Is it you think it's overrated?
I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I had a gut feeling. I had a very big gut feeling about this.
Yeah, there was just something about it. I think because I did a bit of research after watching it. Talking about I watched a few videos talking about where its acclaim has come from and all this kind of stuff. And I feel I feel like the story surrounding it and how it was made, and how it was written, and the filmmaking techniques that they pioneered to make it, all of that stuff is far more interesting than the film itself.
I can understand
to
that.
me.
Yeah.
Because everything that Orson Welles did to get that film made, and it is insane. And the fact that he started off primarily in theatre work, he'd never done a film before. He
did radio a lot as well. Yeah.
He did this, and then things like just little things like the that shot in their childhood home when the camera comes backwards and follows the mum to come sit down at the table. Wouldn't have even noticed if I hadn't watched this video afterwards. But the camera goes through the table without you noticing. And it was a mechanical table that split in half, let the camera come through, and then came back together again. Things like that are things where I think it's interesting because someone who's never made a film before is probably the most likely person to do something like that because they don't know the rules of filmmaking properly. So they go, well, why can't we just do this?
Yeah. I think that's... I think we'll probably end up discussing it more in detail, in depth, as the conversations. But one thing I've learned is that some of the more groundbreaking people who make films are people who either don't come from a filmmaking background, or they're not in love with cinema to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm doing a little bit of research on French New Wave, and of course you had the initial boom of French New Wave, people like Truffaut, Godard, Roma, who came from, I can't pronounce the magazine, but they came as film critics. They came from film criticism, and they came from being film fanatics and then making films like that. But then there was also the left bank filmmakers as well, who more know, like Agnes Varda, who I'm more familiar with in terms of that field. And there were more French New Wave filmmakers who came from it not as film fans, but who viewed filmmaking as an art form on the same level as literature and photography, and made more filmmaking from other means of art as opposed to being film fans. And I think that's also where you can see Orson Welles in his mindset with this whole film. Like, he didn't make it he was a film fan, because I know he watched Stagecoach like hundreds of times when making this film. To learn how to make a film, like what needs to be put in to make it a good film. And also, I think, and City Lights, the Charlie Chaplin film, it was his favorite film. So he was always a film fan, but I don't think he ever came from making a film in the mindset of like making it as a film, more so like how he just wanted to craft a story, I think. No, that's I think that's also a good point there. The fact that you can also think it's probably got because again, everyone knows The Godfather. I think, like, you don't have to be a film fan, and it's like, I mean, we talked about in the first episode, like, it's a dad film. Like, for some reason, every dad is like, oh, have you seen it's brilliant. Godfather's great. And they just love it. And if you're a film fan, you can dissect it and be really into it. But Citizen Kane is a film that people hear of, but it's always the film fans that are really like into it, that really do like, it's fucking brilliant. It's great. And it's not a film that I would say is necessarily a personal hook to me. Although there is that one line about a memory being the greatest curse a human being can ever have. I just think that's such a really just wonderful piece of dialogue that's just quite a very... That's a piece of dialogue that does hook itself in, to me personally, I think. And there's moments like that, but what I love about the film is more so the craft of it being made than actually the story. Even though I do think the story is really well done, and I actually am a fan of the story, personally. But I'll say one of my first notes, it involves the opening, and I got unconventional storytelling by showing the entire plot we will witness of Kane's life in a news presentation. Then we begin to delve deeper into beneath the surface of it all. I think that kind of sums it up wonderfully, because we literally do. We start the film off, Rosebud, snow globe drops, he's dead. And then we just get a big old news report telling us everything we're about to learn Like everything gets told in the sense of he's married twice, he got divorced twice, his first marriage fell apart because he had this relationship scandal with a singer, and then
quote unquote.
and then quote unquote singer, and then he opened an opera house, and then that failed, and then they divorced, and they go through everything that's happened.
Yeah.
And then we get the whole rest of the film, which is just all that story. But I think what really works well with that, it's like, I think that does sum up in the sense of the fact of going through an actual newspaper tycoon, in the sense of like, we all like look on the surface immediately and we think, oh, that's just the story. But then it's like a life is so much more complicated than just a quick little news wrap up almost, I think.
Yeah. I think what didn't connect with me in terms of the story, and I might need to watch it again. But to me, after that first news bit overview of everything of Kane's story, I never when we kept flashing back and meeting these new people and everything, I never felt like I was learning anything new.
Okay, yeah.
It was all just kind of information I'd already been told. And I was like, I know what Rosebud is because I've had that spoiled for me, but where does it come into anything? And it turns out at the end that it doesn't. And I thought, well, that's weird.
It's when he picks up the globe, isn't it? If you think about it. It's when after he trashes Susan's room.
Yeah.
And it's almost that's the moment that he starts to calm down. And I think it's because I know we're skipping ahead, but it's the conversation that's just happened right there, naturally. I think it's like Rosebud fits into it in the sense of that's a representation of the home he didn't want to leave. And it's almost like he's almost being thrown into this wealthy life without his consent, and all he really... And again, it's the same. It's a similar... Like, you can look at it in the sense like how Michael Jackson's story is the same thing, where like he never got a chance to just be a normal kid.
Yeah.
And he just had this fame, and that was it. And again, you can look at it in that unintentionally. This could be looked at as also a reflection on Michael Jackson, in the sense of when Michael Jackson just built Neverland. It's like, I forgot the name of the place that Charles Foster Kane built, but when he just built that massive fucking like place, he was like, "This is just my sanctuary."
Xanadu.
Almost. That's it. There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it's like that moment where like everything just feels like it's crumbling to him, but then he just gets that moment of like, oh yeah, just go back to your chat. Just go back to that moment where you felt fine, where you felt normal. So that's how I perceive it, at least.
Yeah, I read it more as like a sort of, because what comes to light basically in terms of him as a character is that he's always he wants people to just love him, and he'll do anything for that. So he starts off saying, "I want people to love me. I want people to look to this newspaper as this shining establishment, and I'll make this declaration. This is what he's going to do." But because he wants other people to love him as well, he completely goes back on what he said he was going to do in the first place, and the newspaper turns into a completely different thing. But he's doing all these things. He doesn't realise he's doing them, but he's doing them to please everyone. So when I took Rosebud as this, spoiler, it's the sled. It's the sled that I used to play with as a kid when he was at his actual parents' home. Yeah. I took it as a representation of where that idea of wanting to be loved comes from, which would, to me, be being given away by his parents, as a really young kid. That's how I saw it. Just that Rosebud to him represents life back in that house with those parents, and he didn't feel loved by them because they gave him away. So he thought, well, if they won't love me, everyone else will. I'll do everything else for them, sort of thing. Yeah, but I like it because it goes into a something that I've made loads of notes about. That the film has really modern sensibilities in the way that the story's told. Yeah, it's the earliest like straight up character study of a guy that I've seen.
Yeah. Which is why I think it did become such a groundbreaking piece of film. Yeah. Like, just this guy comes up. He was known because he was well known, just generally in the industry. Obviously not for film, but this guy who just comes up, makes a film, and it just throws away everything that everyone's familiar with.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, film can be this as well. Like, I think that might be the earliest example, or especially in American cinema, because I know like the Globe has been doing all sorts of mental, like you got the German expressionism that were doing all sorts of things in that whole thing. But in terms of American filmmaking, I think that might be in the earliest time where we're like, right, let's just, this is weird as well. This was also wartime, or like just post-war to 41. So it was...
Yeah, just nearing off the end of it.
Yeah, so at this point, no one was making these character studies about one dude. They were and a concept piece on what fame can do for a person. They were making films like Fred and Ginger films, or like, hey, let's be happy, everyone. Everyone, come on, let's be happy. And so it was, and especially like almost this scale of it as well. Yeah. I mean, like, I think at least visual scale. Like, this film never felt small. It was always a big feeling film.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't like this epic. It was a dude. It was a story about one guy.
I find it interesting that there's a scene when he says, war definitely isn't coming. And I think, I had to, this is me being trained from doing A-level film studies, where you look for, to get good marks, you look for, if anyone doing A-level film studies, to get good marks, look at political and social context from the time when the film came out. This came out in 41.
Yeah. And it was being made in 40. It was,
So America joined World War II in 1942. So it would have been the year before. So him saying like there is not going to be any war or anything really stood out to me. It was kind of like, that's quite interesting. I don't have really a point about that, but I just
no, things are interesting like that. Like recently, yesterday I watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is on Netflix, Chadwick Boseman's final film. And there's a specific line that he says in the film that quite hit me, where he said, I think it's something along the lines of, my time will come, it hasn't yet, but they'll know, or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that's
this
heartbreaking.
I was like, and this was his career best performance as well. Like, this was like a performance. I was like, it was like how Ledger did Joker. I was like, I can imagine what more he would have done after this film. It's a similar thing with Chadwick Boseman with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but it's like similar things like that. I know that's not necessarily completely comparable, but it's interesting with moments like that. Like,
just the context of it was quite interesting, because it's like Casablanca has that scene, because there's loads of stuff about that film in terms of political context, saying, Rick's meant to be representative of the USA before they joined the war because he doesn't want to be mates with anyone, and then at the end he makes mates with a French guy, so he's joining the alliance and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's interesting to see how much political context and things crept into films at this time, because you don't see it as much now. It still happens, but I think, I don't know.
The film world's a very different world. It's like when we hear we'll get to things about trivia in this. Like things are mental. Things are absolutely mental in the sense of when we were on about Godfather, or like Apocalypse Now. Like the amount of things we would read about what was happening behind the scenes. It's like you don't hear about that now. It's It's like Tom Cruise shouts at 5 people on Mission Impossible 5, and then that's all of a sudden like what? I don't believe this. I can't believe this happened.
I've loved seeing the outcome of that. It's hilarious.
It's brilliant. But like, that's what I mean. It's like that happens, and then that's the thing that's like stirring the industry. It's like there was all sorts of inside jobs happening back in like the 40s and 70s and all. But yeah, another note that I've got when I was watching this, I was saying the filmmaking is such a unique blend of 30s noir in terms of the lighting, like the harsh shadows, and Wells's own creative artistic technique, which was mainly the cinematography. Who was the cinematographer? Greg Toland.
I know this. Yes, there you go.
Need to give so much credit to Greg Toland in this film, because I think like if there's anything you walk away from this film, it's the visual presentation, especially the cinematography. I think it's phenomenal. I think like because there's and it holds up. It really does hold up.
I mean, I in the research I did afterwards, they developed a specific kind of lens for it, and
defocus. Yeah, I've got that in the trivia,
I didn't even notice it whilst I was watching it, but when it got pointed out, I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because they developed a lens that could shoot where everything in the foreground and the background, everything was in focus, which allowed it to kind of play out a bit more like a stage play.
Yeah.
Than anything, which I guess was more in Orson Welles' kind of wheelhouse in terms of that stuff. But
definitely trying to think more. He was definitely trying to think more about what equipments and techniques can be used to be adaptable to the performances, as opposed to how can the performances adapt to the technology that we have.
Exactly.
Which is what a lot of the time was doing. I mean, even past this time, Hitchcock did that. What happened there? My computer just turned off. My laptop just turned off. That's strange.
That's very strange. Oh, good.
Let's move on. It's fine. I've just got the trivia on there, so it's.
I think I've got some notes to start going through.
Go on, you go through some stuff while I sort this out.
So, in the opening scene, we see a cage with some monkeys in it, and it has like tiger as a label on the cage. And my mum said, and I quote, "Those monkeys are brave little bastards, aren't they? Sitting in a tiger's cage." Just, this is what I mean about, like, I'm trying to just enjoy a film. I'm trying to be, like, analytical about a film, make notes and stuff. And just stuff like that all the time. But I think it's kind of perfectly shown straight from the beginning. Orson Welles not really paying attention to old school filmmaking techniques. He breaks the 180 degrees straight away.
Oh, yeah. It's...
Literally, it's like the fourth shot of the movie, and he breaks it straight away. So I just put 180 with like 2 question marks. Like, what? There's no need for that. But it works kind of. Mm-hmm. But in seeing it in a film, I understood why we are taught to be like, follow it, because it did, like, I couldn't help but see it and be like, what? What? What is this? But it's like, just things like that where he's just very, it's very different.
Yeah.
From anything I've ever seen before.
That's why I remember, like, I think that's like, I remember asking, because before I even watched the film, I had a mate who just was like, shit, the film's shit, it's really overrated. And I was like, well, what's it about? Like, what is Citizen Kane about? It was like, oh, it's just really political. It's just like a heavily political film. And here's me going into the film thinking it was going to be like a presidency run, like a film about the presidency or something. It's not. But like, so it's like, but like, how can you, I mean, as opposed to just like, I mean, it's easy enough to kind of describe it, but like, unlike a quick pitch to someone, you can't. Like, what can you say?
Yeah,
it's like, that's why I call it a character drama. But even then, that might be a bit too much for. Not too much. That makes it sound. That makes it sound like I'm putting myself above people there. It might be too much for the commoners. No, but it's like, you know, like it might just be it might just go over. It's like, what do you mean character drama? And everyone characters. You know, I would get that response if I said that to my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of like, it's a character drama. It goes, what do you mean by that? Like, as opposed to someone said, what's Star Wars about? It's like, it's like a space film. It's like a sci-fi fantasy film where it's like those space samurais, and they go, okay. Like,
okay. You can't really sum it up in a couple of sentences.
No.
But it's just, it's one of them where if someone asked me what it was about, I wouldn't be able to say much more than it's about a guy.
Like, again, if you were to extend it, it's about a guy who died and they're trying to figure out what his last words mean.
Yeah.
But even then, that might be a bit like, okay.
All right. Because it's not really about that either.
No, it's not. Again, it's literally it's just about this one dude. It's literally just about Charles Foster Kane and just his life. It literally is a cradle to grave story.
Yeah. I don't know if it's what do you call it? When something, the word will come back to me. But when the prestige of it, there we go. When something's like really prestigious and everything, all that comes from. I don't know if it comes from just. It's so open. Yeah. And it covers so much ground. that I don't know if it's just because with it being like that, so much of it's up to so much interpretation. You can take whatever you want from this, like literally anything you want. You can relate to any of the characters that you want to, and take anything that happens because it's so all up to interpretation. Mm-hmm. You can be like, oh well, I thought it meant this, and then this would mean this, and so it's actually about this. But there's so many different readings anyone can have of this one film. Yeah, and I mean
we'll touch up on that in trivia in terms of specific things about like things that have been made of it. But again, it's always become so much this entity where it's even like the making of the film itself has a story about it.
Yeah, which now exists as a film.
I mean, fuck Mank. But like even like decades ago, there was this essay that someone wrote on the fact of being like, I forgot the name, I forgot the woman's name. She wrote this massive essay piece on the fact of like, Wells didn't write a single fucking thing. It was all Herman J. Mankiewicz who wrote it. And then Peter Bogdanovich, who was who had Orson Welles as a mentor, who also directed The Last Picture Show and Paper Moon. He basically did a counterpoint to it, being like, no, Wells did have his share of writing it, and here's examples. Well, the fact there's a story about like who the fuck wrote the film.
Yeah.
Like how's that even a thing as well? Like imagine.
That's just interesting on its own.
That's fascinating just anyway, I think, where that's a thing. But in terms of the cinematography, Jesus Christ, I keep smacking the microphone. Sorry there, anyone listening. But it is just like, it is a thing of like, it's the framing that's a big thing to me, I think, because I've realized I'm a big sucker for framing. And I've also realized I'm a big sucker for a framing that involves someone and then a mirror shot. Like someone and then a mirror and then that person's reflection. I'm a big fan of that. And they have plenty of that. There's that one bit in the party sequence and it's Leland to one side, the other guy to the other side. I can't remember the dude's name. And then there's just Charles in the back, center back, dancing. And then they do and that was already a good enough frame for me. I was like, that's already excellent. Yeah. That's already an excellent frame.
You don't need to do anything.
And then they do a reverse shot of facing the other dude, and they do a reflection of Kane in the window. Yeah. And it's like, fuck, you got two excellently composed shots there.
Yeah.
And it's again, I think that is because I'm such a filmmakery person. That I appreciate that. I watched it with my mum this morning. I didn't get her opinions on it, actually. I should have asked her before I start recording. But I'm curious if anyone else even catches on to stuff like that, which is what I mean. Like, I'm not sure if we catch on to that because we're studying film. Fucking hell.
Yeah, we're trained to do that.
We have to, like, make sure every frame is intentional. And if there's a dodgy frame, and if there's a dodgy camera position, we get asked, why was that like that? And then we have to make sure we have a fucking reason and like understanding of why we did that. Yeah. Like, so I think it's like, that works for me because I'm now watching films looking at every fucking frame. And that frame, and again, and with a film like this where every bit of framing is just so intentional and so non-accidental. Yeah. Like it's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour film, and everything is so on purpose, and everything is in place. It is almost like the architect for films like a Wes Anderson or a David Finch, where everything is just in there because it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I think everything's perfect. Everything has a place. I think one that stood out to me is when the quote unquote singer is
Susan. Yeah,
when Susan's doing her performance, not the performance itself, but when it shows that shot from behind, and there's the stage coming out and there's the lights surrounding her. That shot is amazing. And then the one as well where it's like it starts on her face and it kind of tracks outwards, and there's all these people just doing things around her and everything, and then it flicks up to a light and flicks back down to her again. Like that's so modern.
Yeah, I've got a note that says camera movements may be commonplace today, but for 1941 it was truly innovating.
Oh yeah, because like I spent when I was doing A-level film studies, we spent like 2 weeks analysing that fucking tracking shot coming into Rick's bar in Casablanca. Like, we spent so long talking about that and like, oh my God, how modern is that and everything like this. This film, every shot, like the rest of Casablanca, don't get me wrong, love Casablanca, but every other shot and it's just a static kind of close-up and whatever. This one, every single shot is something like you would see in a film nowadays. Like, you can just see the ripples of it that have gone right the way through.
That's where I think, because I think that's where it like truly like struck such an impact on me. Because when I first watched it, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I really like it, but I liked it because of the story, and the story kind of invested in me. And then as time went on, I started thinking about the film, and as I watched more films, especially from the 40s and even the 30s, and I started like putting it in perspective in the sense of like, wait, this film came out at this time when all we had was these films. And then, I mean, we talked about it in the previous podcast. We both fucking love It's a Wonderful Life. That film came out 5 years after Citizen Kane. And if we're talking about camera movements, Citizen Kane is a lot more ahead of its time than It's a Wonderful Life in terms of camera movements and that.
Yeah.
I prefer It's a Wonderful Life over Citizen Kane. I do want to say that. But I think in terms of like filmmaking, it's just unbelievable how even films after Citizen Kane were still catching up.
Yeah.
And you can argue that a lot of the innovation was kind of accidental, because I think I heard some theories where it's like, there's some theories where Orson Welles just didn't know what the fuck he was doing. So he just said, I don't know, just do this. I think that's how we're meant to do it. Like, I've heard things about that, how he just kind of was like, I guess this. Imagine accidentally innovating cinema.
That's class. I'd love to do that.
Like, just being like, I guess we should just do that, maybe. And then it's like,
this might work.
And then decades
slap a big teddy bear in there. Do you want?
Robbie, you never know. Bear hug might be like the truly defining thing of a generation.
I fucking doubt it. I'll be honest.
Bookmark all these people when bear hugs go.
Bookmark that YouTube video that's currently on like 230 views or something. Bookmark it, mate. It's going down in the history books. That bit when Leo catches a punch, Jesus Christ. That's it, mate. That's a moment in cinema.
I was almost going to break down Bear Hug there about like how everyone freaked the fuck out when like that punch got caught. But we're not talking about Bear Hug. We're talking about Citizen Kane.
We're talking about Citizen Kane. The lines get blurred between them, but
Another point I had, which I just want to briefly bring up, is I love the editing. I fucking love the editing of this film. Specifically, how the passage of time is communicated. And the main one I have in mind is the dinner table scene between Mary and Charles.
That is exactly what I wanted to talk about, that marriage montage. It's great.
Like, that went through, like, it's, yeah. I can't, I don't even have words to say about that.
It's really smart. Because at that time, editing wouldn't have been anything where, I mean, you get like Russian montage stuff coming in and all that kind of thing, but you know, things like that just completely passing years, and they've got the makeup starting to come in on both of them, and all that kind of stuff, and the performances are great as well throughout that scene. It's really just good shit. Like that, this is one of the only one that I've like properly mentioned in my notes where I'm like, that scene was. As much as I'm not enjoying myself, that scene was great.
It was it's like, because it's like, I don't know, like, it was the second time when I watched it, I forgot about that scene as it was happening. I was just constantly like, oh, fuck, yes. It's just doing so well, like, it flowed as well, and it kept going, and it kept going. Yeah. And then part of me was like, when it went on Kane and it was about to pull out, I was legit, and it was going, and it was pulling out, my mind, I was all, at the time I was going like, please make him be alone at the table. Please make him be alone at the table. And then he wasn't, but then part of me was still like, fuck, that's still good. But like, imagine that. Like, that would have been so fucking class if they would have just done a moment where like, and then pull out from Kane, and then it's just him alone at the table. That would have been fucking beautiful. I mean, it was still a good shit.
It was still excellent.
Like, nothing was really going to tank that scene, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Oh,
but
no.
That would have been the cherry on the cake for me if that was just the case. It's a little thing, but I'm not downgrading Citizen Kane because like he wasn't alone at the table in that one moment.
I've got a few notes that I want to say. Right,
you go through your shit. Yeah,
I feel as though I've been far too positive so far for a film that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you're actually, because I've put my notes down. You go through yours, and then I can finish off with mine.
Okay, right. I'll just read the negatives out because I've been far too positive. I came on here and I straight away went, I didn't like it, right? And now I have to back myself up because I've been nice for most of it.
This will be a change of dynamic. This will be the first time since Godfather that we're going to have anything like this.
You know how we're taught show don't tell? Come on. The full first 20 minutes, the full thing is just this happened and this happened and this happened. It's the announcer from the beginning of every Clone Wars episode, and he's all like,
Do you mean the news reporter?
Yeah.
Well, news. It was a news report.
I know, but it's just
that was the point. It's like they weren't. You watch the news and you don't watch the. I'm not watching BBC Look North, and then I'm going like, "Oh, you're telling me everything here. Give me some of my imagination."
You know, I think so much of my issues with this film just stems from that one news report at the beginning. I hated it. I hated it because he talks so fast. I've put there's so much talking over each other. And I know that's the films at the time, but it's so much of the film is like one guy says one thing and then everyone in the room starts shouting about what he just said until he just chimes in and says another thing and everything quiets down for a second and then it just happens again. And that's most of the dialogue in films of this time and it really gets on my nerves. And everyone laughs way too loud. I've written down as well. I don't know why I've written that down. Okay, here's one that I really want to talk about in terms of things that I didn't like. The Charlie Kane song is so weird. In what world does a song like that exist? Where did it come from? Who made it? What's the context of it? Because I know that he's meant to be really big and rich and everything. But at this point, he's not that well known. He only owns a newspaper. He's not like the most known guy in the world.
Yeah, he's starting off at this point. Yeah.
And suddenly this barbershop quartet comes in and they're got a full song prepared about him and how great he is. And there's a full dance number to it. And also Kane knows the words. And it's what is the context of any of this? It's so strange. And they're all shouting something about the Observer or something. Some other newspaper.
Inquirer? The Inquirer's
the Chronicle. Yeah, that's it.
That was it. Yeah.
And they're on about the Chronicle. So that scene was weird. And also,
I don't really have a comment to make about that. That's why I'm not chiming in there. It's such a Robbie thing to talk about. So that's why I was just letting him go.
It's just what is any of that? And there's a full band of girls coming in with their weird sequin dresses and stuff. And in the meantime, Leland's he's a bit of a prick. It's okay. For what reason? Oh, because he got people in from the Chronicle. Oh, okay. Sorry, Leland.
Wait till April 2021, where I bring in the Barbershop Quartet for the Robbie Tweedale song that you don't know about.
Oh my god, if that exists.
What do you mean? The Robbie Tweedale song obviously already exists.
Does it really? I genuinely can't tell if you're joking. I'm scared now because
What do you mean you can't tell?
Because you have a friend that's a music teacher. How the fuck would I know if you haven't made a song about me randomly?
Because we just run.
Just to pull out someday to fucking annoy me.
Robbie, I can write arty fartsy dialogue. I can't write lyrics. I can write a conversation about the eyes are a window to the soul. Never mind trying to rhyme Tweedale with something.
Oh my god. I got really scared then. Simultaneously scared and excited. The last one that I want to talk about, which was a main issue of mine. The Birds transition is the fucking worst.
Oh, that's weird. I do think
What is that about? It's just he's well then, I'll tell you a little story. And there's real loud for no reason. It's fucking, where did that come from? And there's no need for it. It's like a really superimposed bed over the top of the footage.
And then it cuts to Kane wrecking shit.
Yeah, to him just wrecking stuff. But I mean, so generally, okay, I'm gonna sum up my disdain.
Disdain.
It's not disdain. I didn't hate the film.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck this movie.
This is how we start with Deer Hunter. Remember that? We're like, no, we don't not like it, and then it's become a point now where every time it gets brought up in uni, we go, "What the fuck was that film?"
It's so bad. I think okay. My main issue stems from that newspaper scene. Like the news, the news broadcast.
Tanked it for you. It wasn't going to redeem itself.
It couldn't, because at that okay, it goes on for like 10 minutes.
I don't know about that. Is it that long?
It feels like it, and it's just a guy, right? Basically, like he's doing Rap God, just spitting off facts about this man who we've just seen die, and he reels them off to a point where you don't really understand what's happening, but you know enough. And from the enough, that whole thing going through his entire life, just from knowing enough and having an inkling of how films work and how storytelling works, I knew exactly what the story of Charles Kane was after that. And so then the rest of the movie, the remaining like hour and 50 minutes of this film, is him as a reporter going up to people and going, "What do you know about Rosebud?" And they go, "I don't know anything about Rosebud, but I will tell you this story." And then they go on for a 40-minute sequence of things that I already know because I saw the news report at the beginning. Like if it was literally just take the news report out, and then it was just Charles dies, his last words were Rosebud. Cut to the newsroom. They're like, we need to find out what his last words were, Rosebud, and then we just find out the things organically afterwards.
Okay, no, I get that.
I'd have been fine, and I'd have probably really enjoyed it. I wouldn't have understood the whole Rosebud thing at the end, but I'd be able to piece things together and give my own interpretation of it. As it stands, I spent the next hour and a half really bored, going, I know all this, I've learnt no new information, but it looks nice.
Because my thought was like, because it's like, yeah, we got the surface level. I guess your argument would be like the stuff that we end up getting told wasn't interesting enough to warrant it being in a film, right? Yeah, I get that. Because to me, I look at it in the sense like, well, then, because I can get what you mean. I can understand what you mean there. Because I think it's because I don't know. I think Orson Welles' performance was very good in the film. That kept me interested with it.
He is very good.
And I got a very Leonardo DiCaprio vibe with him, like in that. Yeah, in his whole thing. But 40-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio, not like, which is very interesting considering Orson Welles was 25 when he was doing this. Yeah, he has such a maturity about him.
Yeah. Who plays Orson Welles in Mank, or is he not in it?
I forgot the dude's name. It's someone I'm not familiar with.
Oh, okay.
He does a very good job in Mank. He does. It's a bit of an Orson Welles impression, but it's a good Orson Welles impression.
Yeah.
So it works. But yeah, I think no, I can understand that. And how I thought it was actually quite a clever way to do it, in the sense of, here's this just quick, like boxed up version of his life, and now we're going to get the more in-depth look into his life. Because I think you can like look at that in the sense of, we can read an article about an incident, but it's always so much more interesting to watch like a documentary or an interview with a person about the incident. Like, I can't think of an example, and like, I mean, we all know, the Amanda Knox incident. I'll say that whole thing. I remember bits about that when it was happening, because it was a British girl that got killed in that situation. I knew bits about it. But when I watched the Amanda Knox documentary on Netflix, it was so much more of like a holy shit thing because it was actually interviewing Amanda Knox and interviewing people involved in the situation. So you can look at it more in terms of that sense was like, yeah, we just got told everything, but in my opinion, we didn't get a personal look at anything. And then the rest of the film was more of a personal look at what we've already been told. Is how I think about it.
Okay.
And I guess it is, and I think that proves it's a technique that can work or not work. Like, it could either be like a thing of like, oh, you've already told me everything, so I'm just going to predict it all. Which is example that. For me, it's more of a thing where I'm looking at it in a sense like, oh, I remember that being mentioned. Now I'm interested to see how it actually played out. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I suppose... Yeah, I think the way that I was looking at the news report when I watched it was happening so fast that I was trying to keep up, and so I then had to infer what had happened between the main kind of bits that I could work out, and what I inferred happens to be exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So...
Like, no new information came from anything that you watched.
Yeah, like, I think with the whole, like, he was married twice, divorced twice, and all that, it kind of, I saw him we found out how he got married the first and second time, and then both times it was like, and I'm going to tell you the story of our relationship, and I was going, well, I know what happened, because I know that he got divorced. It was that kind of thing, but then I could still find appreciation in it.
Yeah.
Because of the filmmaking aspects. And I found a very different appreciation for it after researching into it on already seeing it. Like, after I'd seen it, doing the research, I found a very newfound appreciation for it. But as I say, it was interesting watching my family because they dipped like halfway through. My mum got about 45 minutes in, dipped. My dad got an hour in, dipped. My sister came in when I was watching it this morning, and she watched it to the end, but she was just kind of going, this is really fucking boring. And I was like, but it looks cool. And she's like, she found a lot of appreciation in the production design and the costumes and all that kind of stuff because she's massively into that. Like, she saw when the singer came out on stage, and she had her sequin dress on and everything like that. She out loud said, they don't make costumes like that for films anymore. And I was you're right, to be fair. And so she appreciated it in that sense. And I think it is one of those ones where you have to be into film.
I think, that's what I mean. I think you have to be in the actual craft of filmmaking. To really sink your teeth into it, which is why I fucking love the film. And again, I when did I watch that? When did I rewatch it? When I made that review, it was about 3rd of December. So I'm trying to think.
A couple of weeks ago.
3rd December, beginning to wrap up digital production. No, we would have finished digital production. That's right. Yes,
would have been filming analog.
Would have been preparing for analog. So I don't know, there was something about it where I just needed to pick me up in terms of filmmakers as a craft. Because when you go through something stressful within filmmaking, it almost starts you questioning, like, fuck, do I even want to? Do I even enjoy it?
Why do I do this to myself?
And then I watch Citizen Kane and I'm not thinking to myself, I can do that, but I'm thinking, fuck, this is like the beauty that film can do. Like like camera movements can achieve this.
Yeah.
Like story structure can be like this. Like, that's what, like, it's things like that reinvigorate that stuff for me. Marriage Story was a similar thing last year, I think. That's why a big bulk of my script for the Muse was very Marriage Story based in a sense, because it just kind of reinvigorates something back into me to be like, fuck, okay then, filmmaking. Let's get back to it then, shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, and again, I do agree with you in the sense of you need to almost be a film, not even a filmmaker, but interest in the studying of film. So even if you're not interested in making films, if you like analysing films, fucking Citizen Kane, that's all there. It's all there for you. Because again, I'm not sure if I mean, I tell Gary that he should give it a go. I say to Gary, you should give it a go. But I think if he were to ask me, which one should I watch first, this or The Godfather? I would tell him Godfather.
Godfather, definitely. Yeah.
Just one thing, I think it's a better film, and one, I think you just like it better. I would recommend The Godfather before I recommend Citizen Kane, and I only compare the two because they're both two films that kind of acclaimed as the best film of all time, type of thing. And I would say Godfather's more accessible.
Oh,
to
definitely.
a general audience. But again, I'm not sure how. But I think in terms of an old 40s film, I think Citizen Kane is one of the more accessible films for a modern audience.
I'd say definitely that. I'd say something like It's a Wonderful Life is probably more accessible.
Yes, I do agree. Yeah.
Or even Casablanca. I mean, it's not for everyone.
I want to discuss Casablanca in Intermission at one point.
Yeah, because it's not. I know there's some people have a lot of love for it. Some people really dislike it, and I feel like again it's another one of those ones where it comes down to whether you're a film person or not.
Really, kind of, in a sense. But I don't know. I'd say it probably is quite an accessible one for the era.
I think it's more visually, I mean by that. I think it's a simple enough story to follow in the sense of, right, we're just going through the life of a dude. Fine, cool, yeah. And it's the visual side of it that would bring people more into it, as opposed to, I don't know. I think what it might be is because it comes into question, is Charles Foster Kane that much of an investing character? I think that's where it comes to. Like, is he that much more of a character that we feel attached to?
Yeah.
Or is it more so the situation is it more so we're more interested in the fact of of what fame can do to a person as opposed to the person themselves?
Yeah.
And I do question whether if Charles Foster Kane is that much of like a character that we're like, fuck Charles Foster Kane, I know his shit.
Yeah,
again, we talked about it before. We said George Bailey was one of the best characters in cinema ever.
Yes, completely.
On a flip side, we can talk about Michael Corleone being one of the best characters in cinematic history. But that's because we got invested in him and his character being in a position.
Yeah.
But whereas Charles Foster Kane, we're more so focused on the position as opposed to... I mean, it's interesting because we do get information about him from an early age, but I do think we do slightly lack in any just getting to know him as a person.
Yeah.
I think the closest thing we get to that is where he first meets Susan. That's the closest we get to that.
Yeah, and I think you can see it in that scene when he's saying what he's going to do with the newspaper. You can see it in that, although that whole thing turns out to completely be nonsensical and it doesn't mean anything by the end because
he went back on what he said he was going to do with the paper, making it an honest paper and all that kind of thing.
But I think it kind of chops and changes throughout in terms of his characterization, because he starts off with all these morals at the beginning and you think, oh, he's a very morally just person, but every now and again he kind of isn't.
Yeah.
And it's how much of it is the real him. And I don't think we see enough of the real him to get as invested as we could.
No, I do. Again, I'm questioning it. Is it just because Orson Welles is quite charming? Like he is
very charming.
Charm to him. So I'm not sure if it's like I'm attached to it because I think Orson Welles is just a very charismatic person generally.
Yeah.
So am I just attached to Orson Welles or am I attached to Charles Foster Kane? That's where the questions come in, I think. And I'm not sure if I can answer them right now, in all honesty. I need to psychoanalyze myself for that.
Don't do that. You don't know what'll come out.
That'll be my FMP, Robbie, when I psychoanalyze myself. Jesus Christ.
You and me both, mate.
Wasn't Bear Hug a psychoanalytical thing of the mind of Robbie Tweeter?
No, that was about Leo.
I love how on Intermission, Leo's just so far being this entity. We need to get him on something so we can actually
We need to get him either on one of the commentaries or just on a film that he likes. If there's one that coming up that I know that he likes, we have to get him on it.
I have intermission plans that I'll discuss after we finish recording this podcast. That I've been building a schedule plan in my head for possible things in the pipeline. So that'll be in discussion after this recording.
Very good.
Stay tuned, everyone. Is that all your notes that you have?
That's all my notes. Yep.
I'll go through mine again. I have, unlike the traditional Oscar W. Fitchett note package of the intermission, I've got one page. I've got one page of notes because, again, I just kind of wanted to be like this with it. I got the rebellious nature of Charles Foster Kane is a mirroring of Wells himself, making him an early example of auteurship. That's one thing I noticed within this, because there's one moment where he just walks in and he goes like, "Oh well, I'm gonna just live here," and he goes, "Oh, we only open 12 hours." He goes, "Oh yeah, the news goes 24 hours," and he's just breaking all the fucking things, and he's like, "You call this news?" He goes, "Well, yeah." It's like, I don't claim to know the newspaper industry or something. He says something like that. I'm like, that kind of reminds me in a set. Makes me think of like how. Is Orson Welles just kind of like, I don't claim to know how films work. I just do what I think. Yeah. So again, that's what I mean. You can almost look. I think there are examples. Obviously, the auteur theory was brought in due to the French New Wave in the late 50s, early 60s by Andrew Sarris, but in relation more so to Goddard and Truffaut. But also, Wells was an example in the sense of early examples that can be used for that of the auteur theory is Orson Welles, and I don't think you can look at, and I think Citizen Kane is a perfect example of definitely an auteur film. Yeah, like it's an Orson Welles film. It just is
because he's involved in so many of the different aspects of it. I think is probably why.
Yeah,
and his co-writing credit in it, directed it. He's a producer on it as well. I think is he a credited producer?
I can't remember.
I think he is.
I'm not. No, he's not. He's not. But he had very much so powers over the producers, which we'll get talked about in the trivia section. But I think I do think it's like, and it's like, although and again, this will be more explored in the trivia, it's all been linked to William Randolph Hearst, and there are links to William Randolph Hearst, which again will be discussed. But again, it's moments like that where it goes like, is this just a way of Wells trying to portray how he's feeling on screen? Like a section of him is Charles Foster Kane more Orson Welles than anyone else, and and it's just more so glorified in the public tabloidy things that happened in the sense of William Randolph Hearst, and I think Howard Hughes was also drawn as an example of all that type of stuff. But I look at Citizen Kane and I'm like, I see, and again, I don't know much of William Randolph Hearst. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know much of the man. In any regards, the most I know about him is this whole Citizen Kane thing. In all honesty, but I see Charles Foster Kane and I see more Orson Welles than I see anyone else personally. Yeah, and I think it helps, like in hindsight, knowing his life, in the sense of we saw, Charles Foster Kane became just in his own bubble, trying to do his own thing. He just came old and large. And that's just kind of, and that's what Orson Welles became. He became a big old large man who just tried to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Like, so that does feel, it feels almost more like an unintentional autobiography of Orson Welles. Without him even, he was 25 years old. He wouldn't have known how his life would have played out. But it almost feels like he did this film knowing how his life would, but switched film with newspaper tycoonery.
It's again that weird coincidental social context.
Yeah. Like Orson Welles was ahead of his time, not only with filmmaking, but also just somehow predicting shit.
But somehow he was ahead of his time on his own life, somehow.
Yeah, which is, again, it's like, that's why I mean, you can psychoanalyze this film in relation to Orson Welles, which I think is an interesting thing to look into, if you want to do so, which I'm not. I got, and again, in relationship to the auteurship of Welles within this specific film, I put Wells's work ethic and method was far ahead of its time. If around today, he would have been a pioneer in independent filmmaking. I think, if anything, Citizen Kane is one of the earliest examples of independent film.
Yeah.
It was totally just Orson Welles being, this is exactly how I want to make a film. Fuck everyone else. I'm just doing this. And that's kind of just what happened. And it's like, again, my thought was like, if Wells was like, I don't know, if he was in his 20s in this decade, in this past decade, he would have been a big player for A24. That's the only thing that he would have been that tight. It would have been in regards to that, because in life he was so sick of the studio system, and I think he made his whole history is kind of like he got so frustrated with every film he made after Citizen Kane, because Citizen Kane wasn't a big hit when it came out, and it was kind of like heavily like looked down upon within the industry. So that's why whenever he would make a film, studio would basically be so tight on Wells, or they would let him make the film I wanted to make it, and then they would cut it to shit in the post, because they were like, okay, we'll let Orson do what he wanted to do, but now let's make it how we want to make it, because we saw how Citizen Kane turned out. So it's like, I think
box office bomb.
Yeah, he was so anti the studio system, where like, if around today, he would have had an outlet for that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fitting that his final film, The Other Side of the Wind, which was a lost film that got found, finished, put together, got released in 2018 on Netflix. So,
oh, wow. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah, like technically Orson Welles' final film was in 2018 and got a Netflix release.
It's excellent.
And so I think I'm not a big fan of the film, I will say that. It's more of an interesting thing than the film itself, actually. But it's kind of surreal seeing Netflix presents a film by Orson Welles. It's weird, but again, I feel that's fitting for Orson Welles. I think, like, if he was around, he would be a Netflix guy.
Yeah, if you extrapolate the data, it's likely he probably would have ended up there.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Fincher, how Fincher's just found himself. You know what? Fuck, I'll just be on Netflix then.
Yeah,
because I think,
and he fits there.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, that's what.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Still need to see Monk.
Yeah,
I'd like to watch it now.
Yeah. I that's another thing I'll tell you about. So I'll give you I'll send you what I've been watching for 2020 films. So when it comes to when we do our 2020 list, we can have a bit of a thing. But I think Mank's worth watching.
Okay.
I do think it is definitely worth watching. I got dialogue is fiery and rapid, provided excitement to a heavily talky film. I think it's the moments where they are just like it is almost like the Aaron Sorkin type of dialogue where everyone just knows the right thing to say.
Yeah,
like it's a lot of them are great. Like there's a lot of lines that are excellent. When he fires Leland.
One of my favorite moments in the whole fucking film. I remember that. It's the moments like, I don't know, we are talking. You're fired. And I was like, oh, it was just such like
it's
that
such
moment.
A punch in it. Like,
yeah. And then I saw that moment and I just thought to myself, and I got a flashback. Like, I almost like I had a flash forward to being like, and then like 70 years later, Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher brought Social Network. Like that whole, it's that one scene there where I was like, that just felt like the whole reason for Social Network being made. Like, it's just that moment of just two different people who have this partnership in a certain media type of business, and then just instantly like falling out over anything, like that moment. Like, again, it's like, which part of me wishes, I kind of wish that was explored a little bit more. Again, I love the film as it is, but I do question, would there have been a more interesting film if the whole film was about Leland and Kane?
Yeah, maybe.
But again, I think we got that with Social Network, so I'm not saying we necessarily...
We'll save it for the remake.
Yeah, when we remake Citizen Kane.
When we remake it, yeah.
But it's not blasphemous at all.
Yeah, no. They'll come round.
Film Twitter would be totally cool with that.
Yeah, no, they'd be absolutely fine with it.
It's like, no, guys, they're gay. Don't worry about it. Oh, don't worry. It's fine.
Oh, that's all right then. Guys, there's a CGI teddy bear. Like, it's fine.
Citizen Ted.
Citizen Ted. God damn it.
I kind of want you now to re-edit Citizen Kane, replace Orson Welles with Ted.
For the whole thing?
The whole fucking thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That'll be your FMP.
Fuck it, it's something to do over lockdown, isn't it?
Jesus Christ.
Bollocks to it. When we all go into tier 72 or whatever, I'll start production on that.
We're joking. This is the 20th of December. We don't know what January holds for us
Well,
now.
we have no idea. London's in tier 4 now, so.
Reese messaged me and he was like, I might not be able to make it back. I was like, we'll have an escape plan for you. Don't worry, Reese.
Oh, Reese, we definitely will. I'm digging a tunnel there. If he can't come back, I'm digging a tunnel to wherever he lives. I don't actually know where it is, but I'll find it.
Somewhere in London.
I'll sniff him out. He'll be
Wah!
yeah, he just.
We just feel like
Oh, he's over there. Wow. Wow. Oh, he's. It's like a game of Marco Polo.
we know if we've grown that. Again, this is irrelevant to everyone listening.
Yeah,
but
no one's going to understand this.
But yeah, we know fine well if we need to find Reese, we just need to go wah, and then we just need to wait to hear the wah because he's over there.
The response one. The response wah.
Yeah, I got the emphasis on low angles really present the people we are watching as larger than life. I was a big fan of low angles in this film.
Yeah.
And I do think that helped with the grandness of it. Because imagine if all this was eye level. It wouldn't have the same effect, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Which I think a lot of the films were at that time. They were all very eye level. Again, part of me kind of hopes that the tripods were broke. It's like, awesome, we don't know what the fuck to do. It's like, just film it, don't worry about it. It goes, but it's low. Because, don't worry.
It's fine, just put it on the floor.
Just angle it upwards, okay.
Accidental innovation, it's what we're here for, boys.
And
It's
then
what
they
we're
ask,
here for.
so why did you have that character not wear any shoes? And then
Well, actually, it was all symbolic. Like, that's fully what it is. It's like when Hutch asks us why we did something, you just ramble your way out of it.
you have to go like, no, I meant that. I meant
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You just waffle your way out of a meaning of it.
I still haven't mastered that technique. I'm too honest. I'm like, nah, we didn't mean for that.
I am excellent at it.
Oh, are you?
I'm so good at it now. Just waffling my way out of something.
I get questioned though, like, was there meant to be a raindrop there? And I didn't know there was a raindrop on the lens.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go like, well, I can't bullshit anyway about this. I'm going, no, I didn't notice that.
Oh, I really like your use of a plant in the corner there. Yeah. That's what I meant. It was actually symbolic of the fact that he feels like he's in a jungle.
I hope he's watching. He won't.
He won't be, but yeah.
Big up Johnny as well.
Oh yeah, big up you, Dale. He'll be listening. Hi, Johnny.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Comment if you are.
I hope he is because I love him. I love that man. I've got your footage is on the way. I promise.
I mean, by this point, I should hope he has it.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it'll be a late assessment.
Yeah, I got the dinner table scene is just incredible. Like I got like it's an example of a story that can only be communicated in film. Couldn't have done that in a play. Book would have not done anything for that. There's only one type of art form that could have done that, and that's film, I think. Like,
Because it's the visuals of seeing them throughout.
Yeah.
If it was just described to you or something like that, it's not the same.
Yeah, and
Like at all.
And in a play, you can't really communicate that quick change of like time with just like you need. It's incredible. I think. I love a bit of a Bernard Herrmann score. Love the score actually.
The music's lovely.
Bernard Herrmann's first score that he did, first feature film score. Bernard Herrmann, in case you're unfamiliar, was Hitchcock's main collaborator, and his final score was Taxi Driver. So he's one of my personal faves, and this was where he started, and it is really fucking good. It's
a great score. I think I like how the score lines up a lot of the time.
Yeah. Which moment? There's a specific moment. I can't remember when it is, but it's.
There's one in the opening scene where there's a light turns on just as there's a musical cue that I really liked. Got me straight into it.
Not music, but it's sound related that I was a big fan of. It's when it's after when Kane decides to stay with Susan and Getty and Mary leave the house, and Kane's just screaming at Getty, and then the door's shut. Kane's screaming is cut out, but what carries along is like a car horn. So the door shuts and it's like, and it's like, that's clever. I do
Very
like that.
good.
It's again, little things. Brilliant though. And there was another
Lovely
example,
use.
I think, of that where it was the singing. It was the montage of Susan singing, and then it cut out to almost like a kettle settling down, boiling, I think. Again, it's like little sound designy things like that, which are just excellent, I think.
It's a lovely use of a J/L cut, whichever one it is.
Yep.
I can't remember. It's J in it. The audio one's the J, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe that. I legit had to like write out a J and then an L. I was like, yeah, no, it's
It's the J cut, okay.
a J cut is when the audio is heard first and then the visual. An L cut is when the visual is seen first and then the
There we go.
audio
Okay.
is yeah.
Right.
Don't
Excellent.
believe that. We're halfway through a fucking degree and I legit had to go.
JL.
Yeah, and I got a little bit here. Like Kane's and Leland's relationship could be seen as a reflection of Wells and Mank's writing relationship. And I only picked up on that from after seeing Mank and then watching this film since seeing Mank. I'm like, because obviously Leland, heavy drinker in the film. Wells had to legitimately send Herman J. Mankiewicz off to a cabin outside of all fucking civilization so he could stay away from alcohol because Mank was a heavy alcoholic. So then, like,
Jesus.
So Wells was like, go away, don't touch the alcohol and actually write the script, please.
Yeah.
So I
Classic.
I only thought about that through watching it like that, which
Yeah.
was quite interesting. And I've got a little bit of an end thing here. The Citizen Kane opera scene over the Godfather 3 opera scene.
Oh. In every world.
And both of them are trumped by the Last Airbender opera scene.
Last Airbender opera scene.
Yeah, it's in like season 3. Okay.
Oh, I get what you. Yes, I understand. I thought you meant the film. I was like, what?
Oh,
The film. I was like, what?
The last thing that movie needed was an opera scene.
I mean, they may as well
There's
have
no
fucking
need
done
for
it
it.
by now.
Jesus Christ.
But no,
Can people still see that video?
They can
Is it
see the. They can see the they can listen to the full commentary. We just can't see the highlight video
Oh, god damn it.
because
Okay.
Paramount fucking took it away.
It got taken down.
What might happen? I'm going to send Lewis a version of the video without the film's audio, and then Lewis was going to do a DMCA friendly version where he was going to.
Oh, nice.
He was basically going to do Foley over the fucking thing.
That sounds excellent.
And I'm like, sure, fuck it. I might do a re-edit of that video and upload it just to like get it uploaded because I like the video a lot.
I love that video.
But they can still watch us commentate over the full film if they want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the notes I've written, to be fair. The ending. I like the ending. I'm a fan of the fact of what Rosebud is. I like how it's his sled. And I like how it's a link almost to, like that's what he thought. That was the last thing he thought of, was a more innocent time. He didn't say Mary. He didn't say Susan. He didn't say Leland. He didn't say Inquirer, because that'll be awkward. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Just going Inquirer and then just dropped a snow globe. It was like his It was his link to his childhood, which is what I liked a lot with it personally. But yeah, I love Citizen Kane. I think talking it with you, it is because I am such a fan of the craft of filmmaking itself. And that is where I question, will it be interesting to anyone else? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And obviously for you, Robbie, if they just cut out that newspaper thing, maybe you would have liked it more.
Maybe I'd have loved it if the whole news article thing at the beginning wasn't in it.
Maybe I'd have loved this movie.
Do the Tweedale cut. It's not got the newspaper thing, and it's got Ted instead of Orson Welles.
Yeah.
And there's no bird transition because fuck that. it's just Leo. Shows it's just him. It's just a profile shot of him going where.
And then it gets into the next scene. I think
replace Wells with Ted and replace Leland with Leo. Like just superimposing it.
I could do that. I watched a tutorial about a similar thing today.
About, you know, when they're like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where they cut out Leonardo DiCaprio.
The best film of 2019.
Crawl out.
No, I know.
When they put him in the Great Escape.
Yeah.
I learned how to do it the other day. So I could, in theory, just cut Leland down and put Leo in.
It's one of my
I
favorites.
won't, but I could.
Oh no, I'm just gonna stop. Never mind.
Leoland.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make that.
But you
joke.
leave it for me, the genuine comedian.
Not even joking.
To an extent, yeah, sadly enough.
The one who wants to actually be a comedian, I'll leave it to the jokes.
Yeah.
Unlike me, who's trying to make fucking wanted poster jokes. None this time around. I do not want to
God
fuck.
damn it!
I don't want to fuck Orson Welles. There you go.
You haven't. Put that on your tombstone. Oscar W. Fitchett doesn't want to fuck Orson Welles.
Should that be my new Tinder bio?
Yeah, yes, please.
I would change it right now.
Oh, brilliant! I think. Oh, what was I gonna say? You haven't done your one impression per week.
How did?
Oh, you did a bird, I suppose.
I mean, it's not
If
natural. You're putting me on my spot now. We'll see.
Yeah, sorry.
We haven't got to the reviews of the trivia yet. We don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I'll change my bio later. It's not that much of importance. It's not that important.
Excellent.
But yeah, overall thoughts on Citizen Kane. I still love it. I really fucking love it. Robbie, you're indifferent on it, aren't you?
I think the story behind the way it was made and the story that surrounds the film is far more interesting than the film itself, for me.
Cool. And with that being said, we're going to move on to some trivia.
Woo!
Do you know one thing I've realised?
Yeah.
In the description, when I put the time codes, that's one thing I want to remind people. There's time codes if you want to skip about.
Yes.
For all the videos, I've never had them labelled as trivia. It's just always fun film facts.
Why?
I don't know. I just
You type that out. Why is it a surprise to you that it's that?
No, it's a lot of copy. No, it's copy and pasting. Because when we first start it, and I don't type. I go, whoa.
You type in fun film facts. I go, wait a second. That's not what I meant.
No, because when we were still back when we didn't have an intro or we didn't know what
Oh my god! Remember those days?
When we did
remember the days before the theme tunes? My god.
No, when we did the Godfather one, and we were like, I'm still waiting on a theme song right now, and then
Yeah.
and then we were just kind of like, oh, we're just gonna that'll be interesting. In a year's time, should we just listen back to the first episode and just see and just see that'll be something. We'll do that then. But I just copy and paste. I think that was at a point where I was like, I don't want to just call it trivia. I'll call it fun film facts. Maybe that'll be a thing. And I've just always said, trivia. We're doing trivia for this. But
We're doing trivia.
But it's still going to be called fun film facts. So there you go.
Can we come up with a name for it now?
No.
Okay, right. It's still fun film facts. That's what we're gonna...
It's still fun film facts.
Because
we're gonna deliver you some trivia.
Because we need to work our way up to where we have jingles for each segment.
Oh my god, yeah.
So it would be like fun film facts, or whatever. I don't know. And then it would be like another
Clip
one.
that. Lewis, clip that.
and then it'll be another one where it's just like negative letterbox reviews, blah. And
Again, clip that one. We're using that.
we should get like a cameo of like John Chalice, who played Boise from Only Fools and Horses, just to like do it. There was a point where Will and I was so tempted to get John Chalice to... We're going to pay a $5 to John Chalice. It was a $5 each, so it would have been a $10 to John Chalice to do an intro for Heel Pictures. It never happened.
Oh my god.
It never happened, but...
Oh, that would have been excellent.
Anyway, trivia.
Trivia.
All this has got from All this is got from IMDb. Fuck's sake, Oscar, try that again. All this has been attained from IMDb. So there you
Much
go.
better.
All this has been got from despite all the publicity, the film was a box office flop and was quickly consigned. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Let me try that again. This is me not with any caffeine in me. I've literally
You can
just
do
had
it, mate.
water.
You can do it.
Despite all the publicity, the film was a box office flop and quickly consigned to the RKO vaults. At 1941's Academy Awards, the film was booed every time one of its 9 nominations was announced. It was only re-released to the public in the mid-50s. Imagine being so like you're so bad, we're just gonna put you in a vault to never be released.
Who boos at the Oscars as well?
Yeah, who does that now?
Was that like other actors going like, boo, you suck?
Yeah, that's not a public affair. That's reporters and industry people. Who's booing?
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, at the Oscars the other year, if there was just me sat in a corner, like, every time Toy Story 4 got mentioned? You suck. Give it to Klaus. This is ridiculous.
I was rooting for I Lost My Body. That was the one I was hoping for.
Oh,
but
Could not believe Klaus didn't win that.
Klaus,
Unbelievable.
Klaus would have also been the one I would have been rooting for. What was...
Yeah.
Was there anyone that I was heavily against that year? I think I was all fine with most of the nominations that year.
No, Toy Story 4 can suck a dick.
I don't mind it.
I have a heavy disliking for it, as we all know.
Did we explained in one of the podcasts, didn't we? One of them.
Probably.
It was either my one or your one. I can't remember. It was
Yeah,
either,
I feel like we've explained my disdain for it.
yeah. I think it was my one. It was and we're rolling. It
Yeah.
was done.
Go listen to it if you want the story on that.
Here we go. Now here's a few trivia points on the whole William Randolph Hearst situation. William Randolph Hearst was so angered by the film that he accused Orson Welles of being a communist in order to keep the film from being released.
But that's in the news report at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. But like it's like again, this was just happening. Like you don't hear about that now. Like again, the closest thing again we can come to, because I know Mark Zuckerberg was trying to get Social Network to not be made, but you don't hear about like Mark Zuckerberg going like Finch is a Nazi or anything.
Yeah, it's just like
it's just like Mark Zuckerberg is quietly trying to use his legal team to be like, just get fucking like stop that.
yeah, no one just like spouts slander anymore. Bring it back, people. Bring back slander.
Isn't that Twitter? Isn't that Twitter?
Right, yeah, I suppose yeah, it is, yeah. It's the modern equivalent of slander.
If Twitter was around back then, William Randolph Hearst would have been like, he would have just been Trump. He would have just been slagging off Orson Welles on Twitter. That's just what would have been happening.
Jesus Christ.
Trump will come back up in this trivia section, and that's all I'm leaving it at for now. During filming, Orson Welles received a warning that William Randolph Hearst had arranged for a naked woman to jump into his arms when he entered his hotel room, and there was also a photographer in the room to take a picture that would be used to discredit him. Welles spent the night elsewhere, and it is unknown if the warning was true. Imagine that. Fucking hell.
What?
Yeah.
Someone tried to ruin his reputation by setting this up.
Yeah. William Randolph Hearst did, apparently.
That is hilarious. That is the funniest thing I have ever heard in my entire life. That is so... Hats off to him. I genuinely, I'd have thought he succeeded. That's so unbelievably elaborate. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
He went
I need to write that down.
He went from being like, Orson's a communist, and now he's like, oh, that's not working. What else can we do?
Let's just pin a prostitute on him. That's
but also,
so funny.
I mean, it would have been like the 40s, 30s, so I guess it's like, yeah, that would have been absolute slanderous at the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it would have been like, right, okay.
Okay.
like,
You'd be
right,
like, yeah.
right. So what? Brad Pitt has a hooker with him. Like that's what that would be now. Yeah, that's what that would be now. It'd be like, yeah, of course, right. But like then it would have been like, oh, Orson Welles with a prostitute.
Yeah, like I saw Chris Evans' knob a month ago. Like it's fine. People move on. People
And then
forget.
people laugh it off, and he goes, and then just go.
Yeah, just get on with it.
But the fact that William Randolph Hearst was like plan, was a genuine businessman. If this was true, how does he find the time to map this plan out?
This is like it's like Pinky and the Brain levels, elaborate for no reason.
And I also
love
like,
it.
and I think that did happen. So there was just a naked woman in a hotel room waiting for this, and a photographer also just waiting, and
Yes.
nothing ever happening.
I like the thought that there was no one else in the room except this naked woman and a photographer.
And
For a good like 4 hours just trying to make small talk.
And I also like to think that William Randolph Hearst was in the wardrobe, like waiting as well, just being like, "Come on, Orson, come on."
When it happens, he was going to jump out and go, "Gotcha!"
Like, it's like, ha!
Ha! Now you're going to take that film down, you little bitch. That's hilarious.
I want to write a script where that's the scenario.
Genuinely, that is so funny.
This made-up thing that might not have that didn't actually happen in a situation that might or might not have been a thing. I want to genuinely like make a thing about that.
That's brilliant. Nothing's going to top that for me.
The film's opening with just the title and no star names was unprecedented in 1941. It is now the industry norm for Hollywood blockbusters. That's
Didn't
one thing
even notice.
That's like the credits were at the end. Like they weren't at the beginning, they were at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Which because it was like it just had Citizen Kane and then the film started. And then at the end, we had the end and then the credits.
Really interesting, that.
Yeah.
Another way it's paved the way, I suppose.
Yeah. According to Ruth Warwick, who played Mary in the film, his first wife, Orson Welles was not in good shape at the beginning of production. When principal photography began, Welles was suffering from the effects of caffeine poisoning as the result of consuming 30 to 40 cups of coffee a day. Welles then switched to tea, figuring that the hassle of having to brew the beverage would naturally limit his intake, but Welles had someone on call to brew the tea for him, and within 2 weeks, Welles was the colour of tannic acid. It was also reported that he would go for long periods without eating, then put away 2 or 3 large steaks with side items at one sitting.
Jesus Christ. That's worse than me at uni.
I'm seeing that in the sense like 30 to 40 cups of coffee a day goes there. That speaks a lot to to us lot. Again, here's me being like, I haven't caffeinated today.
That is lunacy.
Yeah. 30
My
to
God.
40. I get a headache after 2. That's why I stop.
Yeah.
I can maybe push 3, and then I need to stop because I get a headache.
I have like tops 4 a day. But then that's like, it's usually 2.
Yeah.
That's
man.
insane.
Yeah. And then he went to tea. And then he just looked like
Tea which
off.
also has caffeine in. So
Yeah,
you're not,
it does, yeah.
you're not helping yourself, Orson.
Calm down, mate. Calm down. I think
Calm
I also
down.
read something that like he was quite made up for when he was younger. Because I think it was like a thing like he always kind of I think it was like he didn't have those good looks even then. So like he had a lot of makeup and heavy lighting on him to make him have this philanthropy playboy look to him.
All right.
Whereas when he got made up to be older, all they had to do was just kind of just make him look older as opposed to actually make him look weathered.
Yeah.
Which I've heard. But yeah, I mean,
That's quite interesting.
I mean, if you're 25 and you're in that point, if you work so hard where you're up to that point, you're not going to be looking all well kept, are you?
No, you're really not.
You only have so much time to look after yourself when you've got a career to have.
Exactly.
Is what I'm slowly discovering. Oscar, your blogs are incredible. How are you doing though? I'm just not having any weekends.
I'm just not doing anything else with my time.
Yeah. God help it if
This is
lockdown
our
wasn't a thing.
escape. This is. If anyone's wondering what we do outside the podcast, is working constantly.
Oh, Christmas break is a rarity. I had this week just to watch films. I'm like, this is a miracle. But if we're not doing this, we would have... The reason why we weren't doing podcasting over October and November and that, like we had planned, is because we were like, shit, all this work we need to do.
Oh, yeah. Like, this, I don't think people realise that this is our break.
Yeah, trust
us. Doing this is our break.
Trust us when we tell you Spooktober and no Arvember would have went along as planned.
Yeah. If it weren't for the amount of work we have to do, you'd have got things before now.
I had to make a film about the game of Tig, and Robbie had to make a film with the CGI bear, so that happened.
Yeah, so...
When you put it like that, it's all questionable, isn't it, about what we...
I feel like if it was just one of our films that got picked, we'd probably been all right.
We could have worked around it, I think, genuinely.
Yeah, because it could have been like a break for the other one to de-stress a little bit.
Yeah.
But with us, we were both just ripping our hair out.
The fact that we both were directing a film.
Oh my god.
Mate. Anyway.
You're living your life.
What do you do when we're rolling or something like that? Basically just to be like an intermission after hours? Just to be like, right, let's just... Robbie, tell me about your first time directing a uni film. And then...
Let's both just do really shit pitches for production too, so that neither of us get picked.
Come on, let's... You can't see it because of the background.
Oh, I got given a rum and coke today. It's downstairs.
There you go. Come on, let's pour one out and let's
pour one out and have a chat. How are you feeling, man?
That's definitely an intermission after hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, the audience that watches Kane make his speech is, in fact, a still photo. To give the illusion of movement, hundreds of holes were pricked with a pin and light moves about behind it. That's fucking great.
That is great. I knew that already. I don't know where I knew that from, but that things like that are so excellent to me.
Yeah.
I love hearing things like that.
Yeah, like little things like, it's because it's like we're trying, again, as filmmakers, we're trying to think, how is it going to work? It goes, literally, as long as it looks good in frame and it makes sense in frame, the geography doesn't matter if you were slightly off.
Yeah.
Is one thing I've learned massively.
It's so good. Like the end of Evil Dead, the final shot of Evil Dead is shot on a motorbike.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a shot that's just flying into Bruce Campbell.
And that was just a guy on a motorbike holding a camera. And you can tell, but it just looks excellent. And I love hearing things like that.
It's like how most of Breathless was, there's a lot of Breathless that was just shot with a dude in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
Love it.
Meanwhile, here's us be like, we need gimbals, we need steady cams. Like, why can't we just fucking get a wheelie chair?
Yeah.
Why just grab something from the edit suite and be like, right, someone sit there and now let's move. Like,
well, I've done a low angle dolly on a skateboard in my time.
Just stick a camera on a skateboard and wheel it.
Yeah.
I've done one of them before. Or the one that I used to do, when I did my first shot, was attach the camera to a tripod, hold the stick in the middle of the tripod, and just hang it upside down and let it get as low as possible, and then just pull it on the floor like that, and the weight of the tripod kind of steadies it out.
I've done that.
And then in post you just flip it.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it because you're very very close to breaking your DSLR on the floor.
It's scary, but
it's terrifying, but it pays off. I suppose.
That's how I did some of the low shots for A Very Merry Gary Christmas. I did a few of stuff like that. Now a lot of these ones are involved. Is that right? They're all... Never mind, ignore what I was about to say. It's not relevant. To keep studio execs off his back, Orson Welles claimed the cast and crew were in rehearsal during the first few days of shooting, when in fact they were actually shooting the film. It took a number of days before the studio caught on.
Excellent stuff. I bet he was not in trouble at all.
Again, imagine that. Is this 25-year-old just being like, oh no, we're doing this. And then he's like... It's like, fuck, you're making me look like a bitch. What you doing? That's it. Again, I kind of want to see a film about the making of Citizen Kane, not the writing of it, because that's what Mank is. I want to see like a film of Orson Welles making Citizen Kane.
Yeah, Leo DiCaprio.
I do think that. I mean, he's a bit older for that now, I guess, but I think he can still pull it off. Maybe.
Yeah.
He can still pull it off too. Is anyone? I don't know. I can't really think of any other younger actor who looks like Orson Welles.
Yeah, no.
Because I mean, if we're going by age-wise, it's Timothy Chalamet, but Chalamet looks nothing like Orson Welles.
Exactly.
He's playing Bob Dylan, and even then, I'm slightly questioning his looks. He's playing Bob Dylan in an upcoming film, in a biopic on Bob Dylan.
I can see it.
I'm fine with it, but I think Timothy Chalamet is a bit too good looking for Bob Dylan. But
yeah, it's a good choice though. I don't mind.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. Throughout production, Orson Welles had problems with various film executives not respecting his contract stipulation of non-interference, and several spies arrived on set to report what they saw to the executives. When the executives would sometimes arrive on set unannounced, the entire cast and crew would suddenly start playing softball until they left.
Oh,
again, you don't hear about shit like that now.
Just like, that's great.
Like,
that is absolutely excellent.
Like now, it would be like, no, I don't want any interference. Then you have Disney. You'd be like, all right, then bye.
Yeah, they just kick you off.
Yeah, we get someone else.
Cough solo a Star Wars story. Cough.
Due to creative differences, the amount of times I've fucking heard that.
I hate that phrase. Due to creative differences.
The first time I heard that, I think, was when Edgar Wright got booed off Ant-Man, and ever since then, whenever I hear so and so was kicked off due to creative differences, I'm like, okay, so basically, it means they were trying to make an exciting film.
Yeah.
And then there was like, but we want the film to fit in this type of thing.
One of the disappointing ones for me is the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller would have smashed that.
Yeah, they would have done.
It would have been so good.
Yeah. I mean, Solo's good. It's good.
I really enjoy Solo. I think it's better than most people.
But
Ron Howard.
Yeah. I mean, he's fine. It's fine.
I'll let him off. He was in American Graffiti. I'll let him off.
There's one film that I really like from him and I can't think.
The Grinch.
I was going to say that, but yeah. Originally, the movie was going to be based on the life of Howard Hughes, with Joseph Cotton, who played Leland, in the lead. Eventually, Orson Welles realised nobody would believe most of the stuff Hughes had done, so he decided to make Kane a media baron instead.
That's interesting. What's this Howard Hughes guy done? That sounds like no one would believe what he's done.
Don't you know Howard Hughes?
No, I don't know.
The Aviator?
No.
Martin Scorsese did a film called The Aviator with DiCaprio playing Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was basically a similar type of guy where he had this... again, he was like... I can't remember the specifics, but he was also one of these guys who... really famous, really, all sorts of stuff and that, big and that. And he just kind of became a recluse and he would like just stay inside. And he would and I think there was like rumors in the figure, it was like, he would just piss in jars because he just wouldn't want to go. And he was like a big germaphobe and that, like he would wash his hands like constantly.
Oh,
like I don't know specifics about Howard Hughes, but yeah. But no, I'm surprised. I thought you would know about Howard Hughes.
No, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I still need to watch The Aviator, which is about Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Which at the time at the time people were kind of like, oh, that's Scorsese's Oscar bait film, but I think it's kind of grown a bit more fondly. I don't know, more so for DiCaprio's performance. Orson Welles tried to buy out the screen credit for co-writer Herman J. Mankiewicz. Welles actually paid him several $1,000s. However, the Writers Guild got wind of this and said that he was not permitted to do so. When Welles tried to get his money back, Mankiewicz had already spent it.
That's excellent.
And that stuff's kind of touched upon in Mank. Which, there's a lot, but there's also essays and shit to go off from this. Tens of thousands of words written about this whole thing. It's mental. For this movie, Orson Welles, along with cinematographer Greg Toland, pioneered deep focus, a technique that keeps every object in the foreground, center, and background in simultaneous focus. This brought a sense of depth to the two-dimensional world of movies. which we've already briefly explained in the sense of that's kind of where it's interesting where you hear how things start. It's like how the Steadicam was made for The Shining.
Yeah.
And then that's when the Steadicam was just about. And, you know, deep focus was done because of this film. And it does like have this extended feel into the frame, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where, again, I think back to films of previous decades, everything was kind of more just flat stage type of thing. I'm a big fan of the deep focus lenses of all this stuff. Co-writer Herman J. Mankiewicz actually knew William Randolph Hearst and his mistress Marion Davies, the two figures that Citizen Kane essentially lampoons. Both Herman J. Mankiewicz and cinematographer Greg Toland had been ejected from one of Hearst's famous parties at his elaborate homestead San Simeon for excessive drinking, which is a scene that is explored in Mank. So, but it's only of Mank. I don't think the cinematographer Greg Toland is present in the film, but there is a moment where Gary Oldman as Mank shows up to the party, pissed off his head, and then
Excellent.
But yeah, I just find that interesting. Like that's a real world thing that happened. Orson Welles always claimed that this picture was not the biography of one specific individual, but a composite of characters from that era in America. Though universally recognized as based on the life of William Randolph Hearst, there were also elements in the story that applied to the life of Chicago utilities magnate Samuel Insull. So, even though a lot of it is quite William Randolph Hearst, it's not all, again, which I think's more accurate in the sense it's just a commentary on that whole lifestyle of that time. The credited cast were entirely from the Mercury Theatre troupe, which Orson Welles founded when he was 21 years old. The Mercury Theatre did radio dramatizations of such works as Les Miserables, A Tale of Two Cities, Treasure Island, The 39 Steps, Abraham Lincoln, The Count of Monte Cristo, and, most famously, The War of the Worlds. So,
where he convinced loads of people that the world is actually being invaded by aliens.
That's crazy.
Which is very funny.
Yes, it is. It's amazing. But I like that in the sense of like how it's like, again, all the cast is just theatre people that Wells knew. Which again, you could look at it in the sense like Wells was because again, there's these reports like, or like theories like Wells was trying to keep credit for himself. He was trying to claim that he was the sole reason and Citizen Kane was a thing and all that stuff, you know, with the whole thing with Mankiewicz. But he was also quite grateful in the sense of like how he just like, you know, this was what he did. He just like, I'm getting people that I know who are more theatre people in this film. And also,
it's kind of like if I'm coming up to the big time, you're coming with me sort of thing, which I like.
Yeah, and if you think as well, his end credit, it wasn't directed by Orson Welles. It said direction of production Orson Welles, and also in that card photography Greg Toland. And that's the last thing you see on the film, because I think Orson Welles is very much so thinking to himself, I think he has said that if it wasn't for Greg Toland's cinematography, the film wouldn't really be what it is. So I think that's where he credits it. And you know, he could have very well been, Orson Welles has his own title card, but he's like, no, I'm sharing it with the cinematographer.
Yeah,
we're both.
So it's as much
players.
his film as anyone's.
Yeah, which I like a lot with that.
Yeah.
The film showcased a technique called universal focus to get the image of Kane and the poster picture during the speech sequence. Short lenses were used. At the same time, the key light, the main lights, were gradually increased to get both images sharp and clear. Mental.
Yeah. Lunacy.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have certain things. Which what I find interesting is like, because we've just worked with film, like we've just worked with 16mm film.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
I like it, but it's also fucking pedantic, isn't it?
It is horrible. As the camera operator on that,
yeah, you had to work with it. Yeah,
it is the worst thing in the world because you have to go off actual measurements, actual real world
tape measured measurements for focal length and a light meter for aperture and all this kind of stuff. And then even then, you're not sure if it is in focus, and you record it. And the worst part of the whole thing is not being able to see what you've just recorded back. God, it's awful.
So again, imagining only having that format to shoot on, and you do a shot like that.
Yeah.
What? What?
Like that. There it is.
Yeah, just this big
Doing
like
a shot like this. It is insane to me.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah,
I really do have a newfound appreciation for it after doing that. After doing that module.
because if we were film students 20 years earlier, we would only be having to work on film.
Yeah.
Realistic. I mean, we'd be digitally shooting stuff, but that'd be more video. But like, yeah, imagine that. Like,
I don't want to.
yeah, but yeah,
Sounds absolutely horrible.
but that's crazy. Orson Welles came to dislike the Rosebud twist, calling it dollar buck Freud.
What?
Yeah, no,
Excuse me.
yeah, no, he didn't like the Rosebud twist, which,
Sounds like a certain someone
what do you mean?
talking about a certain tongue being cut off by a certain individual in a certain short film.
I don't know what you mean. Oh boy, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
I was talking about the Muse. God damn it. You know I was talking about the Muse.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for the Muse. Excellent.
Well, you know, we all hate
God.
our films, don't we? That's where it
Yeah.
comes to, is it? And the Muse is hardly Citizen fucking Kane, mate. I don't...
In your eyes.
Look, we did a gimbal shot, and that blew everyone's mind.
I bloody love it. All right.
It's a really good. I like it.
I've seen that film more than anyone.
Well, you edited it, so
I pieced that bitch together, shot by shot.
It was excellent.
no, I want to get back to it at some point
Yeah.
when
I'd
I'm
love
like close to my deathbed. I guess that's when I'll finally do it.
Yeah. I'd love for that film to be what kills us off in the end. That's how I want to go out, making the Muse.
Do we even finish it by this? Do we still finish it, or is it still left undone?
I want it to be a symbolic final shot. And as soon as we hit the cut, that's it. Heart attack.
Simultaneous heart attacks.
And we're done. That's it.
Does anyone survive, or is everyone gone?
Oh, everyone but us survives. It's just us two. It's just us two
oh,
that go.
So Joe, Elle,
Yeah, everyone else is
Talia,
fine.
Jack, Reese, Megan, Scott, all good.
They're good. It's just us two. Peg
Yeah.
it completely.
Yeah, that'll be it. It's
That's the dream.
It's not recording an intermission. It's not
No,
doing
it's-
anything
it's-
else we do. It's finishing the Muse.
It's finishing the Muse that kills us off in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Sure.
I'd be happy with it. Yeah.
Selected by the Vatican in the art category of its list of 45 great films. Vatican loves Citizen Kane,
Very good.
as well as It's a Wonderful Life, as we also discovered.
And Michael Corleone.
I mean, that's also questionable.
It-
Donald Trump, here we go.
oh, God.
Donald Trump says this is his favourite film occasionally to sound smart. Yet, in his more candid interviews, he claims his favourite film is Bloodsport from 1988.
Oh, my God. That's so funny. It was this beginning sentence of that. Donald Trump claims this to be his favourite film to sound intelligent. Is that actually what's written in the trivia on IMDb? 'Cause that is so
Donald Trump
is
says his
so
favourite
funny.
film it says this is his favourite film occasionally to sound smart. That's
That's so funny. The fact that that's even trivia is hilarious. Fucking hell.
right, here we go. We're coming to the last two bits of trivia.
Okay.
Film scholars and historians view Citizen Kane as Welles' attempt to create a new style of filmmaking, but studying various forms by studying various forms of it and combining them into one. However, Wells stated that his love for cinema began only when he started working on the film. When asked where he got the confidence to, as a first-time director, to direct a film so radically different from contemporary cinema, he responded, ignorance. Ignorance, sheer ignorance. You know, there's no confidence to equal it. It's only when you know something about a profession, I think, that you're timid or careful.
I'd say that's very accurate.
That's fascinating as fuck, and I relate massively. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're always like, oh, well, it's got to be this because film.
We're studying. It's in our modules to study films that relate to what we want to achieve.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
But say we say fuck it and we go, you know what? I want to look at the structure of a short novel as to how I want to structure this film. Because I think Tarantino, like, that's how he structured Pulp Fiction. He wrote Pulp Fiction in the sense of, like, no one makes films as they would if they were to read a novel. And that's how he wrote Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It was in the sense of that. And again, Wells just thought, nah, I'm just doing it how I know. Not from a film. But
That's really interesting.
like, because one thing that I realized, like, when I was coming up with the first plan for You're It, when it was going to be an action film, I was referencing a lot of manga.
Yeah.
When thinking about the concept of the film. But then when I got back to doing the newer version of You're It, I was thinking of films like Manchester by the Sea, Call Me By Your Name. And at that point, you're trying to compete with those films, which is dangerous. Because then you're trying to be another film and not grabbing things from something else, I think. Which, I think
that is fascinating.
Which I think is something that, like, I need to take more in consideration. Or maybe looking at other forms of media and try to take that into how I want to make a film.
Yeah. Cool.
A final bit of trivia. God's sake, pop filter, calm down. William Randolph Hearst was infuriated by this movie, obviously based on his life. According to an essay written by the New York Review of Books by Gore Vidal, Rosebud was Hearst's... Right, here we go.
No way.
Reportedly, Rosebud was Hearst's name for longtime mistress Marion Davis's clitoris. Vidal's essay drew upon Louise Brooks's memoirs, as she was an intimate friend of Davies and a frequent house guest at Hearst Castle. Other reports claim screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz took the name from a bicycle he owned as a child. Either way, the discussions of Rosebud's origins are difficult to date any earlier than the 1970s, as feared retribution by Hearst, and, following his death, many of his devotees made the subject taboo.
So much to take in.
Yeah. Now, I knew about that where it was like, oh, apparently Rosebud was the nickname of Marion Davies' clit.
That is the weirdest shit. What is that about? Who names it?
Yeah, anyway. Just anyway.
Yeah, just like who's naming them?
So,
Do you know what I mean?
You know what I'm going to call that?
Steve-O.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what is that?
Welcome to Jackass.
Yeah, well, welcome to Jackass. This is Steve-O. That is so stupid. What a weird claim as well. He's like, he got that obsessed with the fact that this film was based on his life and that he was taking it as libel. And he's like, so obsessed with it to a point where he's like, well, they nicked Rosebud from my mistress's clip. Like, he got that far into it. That's insane.
I want to read more about William Randolph Hearst. The man seems fucking mental.
He seems insane. God.
But yeah, that was the last bit of trivia for Citizen Kane. There's more as well, but we're not the place for that to be.
No.
We're not your reference point for the mental shit that went on with the making of Citizen Kane. So,
yeah, look into it. It's very interesting. To me, more interesting than the film itself.
I would put it on a similar level as Apocalypse Now, where, like, you can look deep into the making of that stuff. But yeah, and we'll move on now to the next section. And since my fucking laptop just turned off randomly. I lost the page, so let me find it. But we're going to be going through negative Letterboxd reviews. I'm fascinated by this. I'm interested to see what.
I feel like they're going to be funny.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be one of those ones.
Let's go. 0.5 star. Hell no, go away, The Godfather is the greatest movie of all time. All right, so it's 0.5 star saying like, fuck Citizen Kane.
Okay.
Godfather.
And that one's from Al Pacino, is it?
Pacino_Al.
Okay, good. Pacino_Al 123.
1, 2, 3, 69.
Yeah.
0.5 star. There wasn't a single second of this film that was entertaining or enjoyable. The only conceivable reason to watch this movie is to appreciate the history of film. I'm not sure of 0.5 star.
Yeah, that doesn't warrant a 0.5 star. I agree with him because that's generally my thoughts, but not 0.5 star. Calm down.
0.5 star. My 11th grade English teacher made us watch this, and the 0.5 star is for the enjoyment I got from the moments I fell asleep. Fuck you, Mr. Horgan.
That's up there in the Hall of Fame.
We need to go through.
You, Mr. Horgan.
I can't remember. Right, so far that's the thing. That's one thing I need to do within 2021. I need to come up with the Hall of Fame on Letterboxd reviews that we've encountered. That's a good one.
And get them printed on a t-shirt. That's so good.
When we somehow eventually make Intermission merchandise.
Yeah, when we get Intermission merch. That's great.
That'll be a thing when we actually get people commenting.
Yeah. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Please.
0.5 star. Controversial take, but I hate it. That's
okay.
Right, yeah, okay.
Grow up is what I'd say. Sorry,
either be funny on Letterboxd or give an actual conclusive, constructive review. That's what I say.
Yeah, get out.
I even haven't 0.5 star. I even haven't watched this film. Hang on. I haven't even watched this film. I'm just rating it 0.5 star to make my lecturer mad. Okay.
Classic.
No, I'm not going to say anything.
What?
No, I'll say some. Remind me to say it after because I'm not going to. No.
You're not saying it on air?
No, I'm not. Because people would get mad if I do.
Okay.
0.5 star. I get it. Cinematography changed because of this shit movie. Doesn't make the movie less shit. And there's a bed emoji.
What? Why is there why? Why? For what reason is there a bed emoji?
I don't know. Sleeping, I guess. Boring.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I would have
thought the shit emoji would have been
more appropriate.
Yeah. 0.5 star. This is a really good film. I just can't rate it because of the status it has. So I'll just give some people a midi heart attack instead. Okay.
Excellent.
Well,
that's
fine.
A nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. As we discussed, it's the muse that'll get us in the end.
0.5 star. Citizen Kane. More like Citizen Lame.
Oh my god, yes. Those are the kind of ones that I really miss when they're not about. Citizen Kane, more like Citizen Lame.
I missed Intermission for these
reasons. I missed Intermission so much.
The stupid name.
Fuck you, Mr. Hogan.
0.5 star. I did not get it. I did not. Muss ich irgendwann mal wieder aufmerksam drücken. That's what was said. And that wasn't me trying to do that wasn't me trying to translate it like I have not done the past few times. It's just gibberish.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
So someone just decided to quote the room and then just
gibberish. Smack the keyboard a bit.
God, I hope it's not an actual language. Otherwise, I just horrifically went, it's just fucking gibberish. And now I find and then I'm accidentally a racist. And
it's like the the Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing comes up. Like the intro comes up and it just says Oscar becomes a racist.
Half a star. What a snooze fest. Let's get into real classics. And then there's a link to something, and I dare not. Okay, it's YouTube. I'm not clicking anything incriminating. What is this real?
What is this real classic?
It's the trailer to It.
Oh, fuck off. Grow up. Grow up, mate.
And then there's one review, half a star review. That's actually a foreign language that I'm not gonna read. You not got me this time.
You not got me.
I'm gonna keep it up until one day when I just randomly spout out when I'm just
Come back next week, folks. We got.
Come back next week when there's maybe a foreign review that I might not read. Final review, half a star. Did I mention that this film uses deep focus? You didn't have to because I watched the film.
You didn't have to. We read the trivia, bitch.
So,
get out of town.
I think I have to give it to the fuck you, Mr. Horgan, for the best one.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Big
Citizen Kane, more like Citizen Lame, is very notable.
That's close, but
yeah,
for the winner.
It's got Mr. Horgan.
My 11th grade English teacher made us watch this, and the half star is for the enjoyment I got from the moment I fell asleep. Fuck you, Mr. Horgan. This is new as well. It's 16th of December.
Oh, very good.
Half a star. Big ups to Eggy Consumes. Eggy Consumes. That's the username.
Eggy Consumes.
Favorite films of this person include Fast Color. Haven't seen it.
Don't know.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Very good.
Pride. Solid film.
Very good.
And Rafiki.
Rafiki?
A film from 2018 that I do not know. But yeah.
Oh. Isn't that the name of the monkey in Lion King?
It is. It is indeed.
That's very weird. Okay, fair enough.
Again, I don't know.
Good on you.
But yeah. Anyway, that was everything of our Citizen Kane podcast. Yeah. Longer than I thought it would be. I think the trivia bit was there. But yeah.
Yeah, brought it out a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But
Good shit.
That was our review for Citizen Kane. Just podcast generally on Citizen Kane. Enjoyed this one. This was a good laugh.
Yeah.
Good time.
Very good time.
Yeah. So we're back doing this, aren't we? For a bit.
We are. This is season 2.
Season 2, first episode of season 2. Well, the first video of season 2 was Coda, the Coda commentary, which people would have seen by this time.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed.
My lucky coat. My God,
lucky fucking coat.
I need to send you the footage for you to edit that if you're still up for editing that.
Send me it over. I'll do a highlights vid.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. Sweet. Do you want me to... I'll send you the just the MOV file, should I, as opposed to the Premiere file?
Send the Premiere file.
You might need the footage, though. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, send both because I'll need to link it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
right.
Cool.
A conversation that is already been
it
sorted.
completely doesn't need to be on air, but it's fine. You can listen to it now.
But, yeah, excellent. Next episode, I'm still not saying week because I don't dare challenge
we don't dare jinx it, but...
Because last time we were like, the Deer Hunter was the mid-season finale, and it was just the season finale because life took over. So I'm saying the next episode, which we'll be filming, which will be released, which we'll be filming tomorrow, breaking it again, will be over Some Like It Hot. That will be the next episode. Billy Wilder's Some Like It Hot. Save all of the thoughts for that episode.
One of my girlfriend's mum's favourite films.
Big ups.
There you go. Big up, Big Trish.
But yeah, so that's what's going to be next week. There's nothing really for me to say. There's no Dad Oscar thing to say. And if I do say anything, it'll be heavily dated. So I'm just not.
Should I do one?
Go on.
It's the Christmas period.
Now it's not.
Well, oh shit, yeah, it's not anymore.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like right now.
Oh, never mind. Well, then January. What will be happening by then? I don't know. If we're still in lockdown, I hope you're all doing well. And getting back to work and keeping yourself occupied. Just keep on keeping on, guys. especially those down south in tier 4.
Should we
Godspeed.
should we shout out a random person we know from just a rando from?
Oh
not,
yeah, go on.
not a complete rando. I'm gonna go on the Intermission Instagram. Who's following? First one. That's you. I'm not shouting out you.
Shout out to me for being a legend.
Shout out to Robbie Tweedale. Shout out to Joe Caslin. There you
Hey,
go.
go on, Joe. I'm excited to see your BBC One thing.
Yeah, same. That would have happened by now, so we can't even be like,
It would have happened.
But yeah, excited
It
for
was
that.
really good, probably. I haven't seen it yet.
You were the standout, Joe.
Oh, always.
As you are. I'll be seeing you January because we're talking about other things. So there you go.
Ooh.
But yeah, that's all. One thing I have to say, I'm going to say this. We're on Apple Podcasts as well. So one thing, I don't check it often, but you know, if anyone wants to, I would love it if you give a bit of a review. Give a review for Intermission, because that actually would go a long way in terms of just overall things. If we get more interaction, because I know we obviously we have people liking the stuff on Instagram and all that and sharing it and stuff. But it'd be sweet if you know, some feedback and reviews and that were on the iTunes point of it to show how the podcast itself is doing, as well as of course the YouTube side of things. But yeah. Do you know
anything like that just pushes us out a bit?
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy to me? Because I looked at the podcast analytics. Obviously, the most viewed podcast episode on the YouTube channel is Serpico. That's the most viewed video on it. The most listened to podcast is the Apocalypse Now podcast. A lot of the more listened to podcasts are the longer ones, but the more viewed ones on YouTube are the shorter ones, which I find interesting, actually. Okay. So I don't know whether if the algorithm, because I know the YouTube algorithm pushes shorter videos than longer videos.
Yeah.
So I don't know if with podcasty things, I don't know, do they push longer ones?
Maybe highlights from podcasts might be things to look out for.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, no, that might not be a terrible thing.
Like 10-minute videos, because 10 minutes is like the mark that YouTube wants, isn't it? For
yeah.
Thing. I don't know. Something to think about.
I could always send you over the links, and if you wanted to edit over some highlight stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But
That
could be something to discuss, just Jerry.
Yeah, cool.
Obviously, I post the preview stuff on Instagram and that. So
yes.
But yeah, no, that might not be a bad idea to consider to maybe do. But yeah, that's all I want to say. Push that out there. I don't know where. As of now, Some Like It Hot isn't available for streaming, but you can rent it on stuff like Prime and that. So,
yes,
in anticipation for the next week's, for the next discussion.
For the next episode.
For episode 13, give Some Like It Hot a watch, and that will be the next discussion. So, there you go. Well, that being said, when we stop recording, I got shit to tell you, Robbie.
Okay, I'm buzzing. Can't wait.
And thank you all for watching and listening. Go in the description to find. I'm just going to say that description. There's everything you need. I'm not going.
Everything's there.
Everything's there. Go for that there. Big ups to Joe Caslin.
Big ups to Joe.
Being a solid bloke.
Yeah.
Really like
Good on you, lad. Good on you. I'm going to go and I've just seen Django Fett, so I've got to go decapitate him. I'll be back.
Ah, right. Yeah.
I'll be back in a bit.
Yeah. I got feelings I have to say to you about the last Mando episode.
Oh, yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
And then, right, next time, everyone, we will all see you later. And
see you soon.
I'm actually doing an outro. Goodbye.
Bye.